Next speaker will be Alexander Furon. Alex is a digital transformation specialist for bygora, the world's first digital B2B platform for the next generation of protein. He's one of the leading insect market experts and helps companies build up their business network and smart operational process digitally. So his presentation will be how digitalization enables insect to win the decades. Alexander, this is for you.
Hi, my name is Alexander Freeren. I work for bygora, and this is the digital B2B marketplace to buy and sell novel proteins. Today, I'm here to talk to you about the future of this market and how digitalization enables insects to win the decade. By 2025, all B2B trading, communication, and information research will be done 100% digital. So let's make sure that we're all prepared, and let's go through what is important as the next steps for the next few years. But first, let's talk about why it is so important that the insect market succeeds. The United Nations predict that by 2050, we will have around 9.5 billion people on planet Earth. Today, we have 2 billion less, and we already have huge problems of producing enough food while sustaining the planet. So with 2 billion people more, we would need to increase food production by 60% on top of what we have already now. So if we look at what problems this causes already, like deforestation, methane emissions, CO2 emissions, and the huge amount of overfishing, we can see how bad the impact will be when we have 2 billion people more. Luckily, people's awareness of sustainability is growing as everyone can see the effects everywhere in the world. We have the huge weather effects. We have people having to flee their countries. And with this in mind, people now look for opportunities to increase their own sustainability in their life and be part of sustaining the planet. And the good news for our industry is that they are willing to pay for it. So wouldn't insects be the perfect solution to solve these problems? Not only do they need less land and less resources, they solve another big problem, which is food waste. We have around 1.3 billion tons of food waste annually. That's around 30% of all the food that we produce that we throw away. And all of this, while insects also have a great nutritional profile, and they can really produce antibiotic-free, so it's great for people to eat it, it's great for animals to eat it, and in a sustainable way. So if insects are so great, why aren't we switching to simply using insect proteins everywhere straight away? And to answer this question, we really have to go into depth of what is holding the industry back. At the current state, the industry is still young, and we believe there is a huge chicken and egg problem. And this chicken and egg problem is holding the entire growth of the market back. So let me ask you, why do we have this problem? Is it because the cost is very high? Because we are uncertain if we can scale the existing production? We don't really know what the demand is because we don't have actual numbers. Mostly we lack a market access because it's just hard to find anyone in the market because it's completely intransparent. And this intransparency is not just for who we can trade with, but also for market data. So there's a huge lack of transparency of market data, market insights, and market news. And if we look at all these points, they combined cause this problem, this chicken and egg problem. And now we need to go and look for what do we need to do to solve all these underlying problems so we can get rid of the chicken and egg problem and enable this industry to really start growing. We found the answer to these problems in digitalization, and I'm going to show you why. So what digitalization does is it makes the market transparent. It provides global market access because you can access the digital system from anywhere in the world. It provides data insights on pricing and on demand that is based on real data and not just on what people say in the market from their point of view. And what digitalization can do with information is that it can show real industry news in real time. So as soon as something is mentioned about this market online, you should be able to react to it. And that's what's digitalization to do. So we are entering the information age of the market, and we have seen the same happen to other industries before. And what we could really see in these other industries was that companies with access to all the information completely trumped the other companies and their competition because they didn't have the information that they had through digitalization. What always baffles me is that when we order a pizza, we can do that digitally from our phone, and we can track it the entire way from when it is being made to exactly when it arrives at the door. So we can see at any point where the driver is, when he will deliver. And, you know, we made this technology possible for a food delivery worth $10. But when it comes to sending multi-million-dollar shipments all around the world in the B2B market, we know absolutely nothing of what is happening to our goods. Isn't that crazy? Shouldn't it be the other way around? So our goal with our digital B2B marketplace is to bring the same amount of convenience and transparency to the B2B market so that we can all enjoy the ease of use that we see in the B2C market today in our everyday lives. And what we also found when we worked on implementing the digital marketplace, the information platform, and the whole online visibility aspect is that to our customers, we have a lot of additional benefits that digitalization can bring. So we found that we could actually reduce the operational cost, especially of sales and trading from all of our customers. We can reduce the business risk because companies don't just sell to one customer anymore. They can now sell to a global network. And finally, this global network is the key component here because it means that you can go from start, you can go and have a global network that is multiple orders of magnitude larger than what you could build with your own sales team. So really, digitalization enables the scaling of this industry. The industry can work as is, but it cannot scale up really large unless we digitize it. And I think if the pandemic has shown us one thing, it is that global business and trading without international travel is not just possible, but it's more efficient, it costs less, and it reduces our ecological footprint. So why should you digitize right now? Why is now the time where you have to move because otherwise your competition will win against you? To answer this question, we should look at the future of the industry and where we'll be going in the next years. So let's look at 2030 here. By 2030, we will already have years of full digitalization. Now, what does this mean? It means that blockchain creates supply chain transparency. We can prove every single step of the supply chain was sustainable, and we can show that to the end consumer. We will have artificial intelligence coming up with new recipes for feed, for food, new methodologies, how to produce it, and it can crunch all the data we have in the market and can predict what is going to happen in the future in the market. This completely changes the picture. We will have Industry 4.0, where all the machines and all the computers are connected. So your production can communicate with the online platform. The online platform will be able to have a custom order from the customer, which will then be automatically sent to the production system, which then produces this at low cost and at scale. So this is things that will be able just through digitalization. And then we will have real-time data insights, which we just cannot have right now. And this gives us a huge advantage over the traditional proteins that are in the market right now. And then by 2030, obviously, we will have a young workforce. So the next generation of people will then have our jobs. And this generation already works digital the entire day. They do everything online. They work from home. They will work from anywhere in the world because they can just access the digital system and then do their job in a really, really great and efficient way. And finally, we will have novel ingredients. We will have other ingredients that come from insects. We will have other ingredients that complement insects and then make the product itself work much greater because it works together and solves even more problems. And finally, we will have new buyers and even new buying industries looking at biotechnology, pharma industry. So this is what the world in 2030 will look like. And simply put, trade like today will just not exist anymore. So this future is really not a question of if it will happen, but when will this happen? Companies that don't digitize will most certainly be left behind with a huge disadvantage against their competition. In addition to the outlook that we give on digitalization, we want to give some more insights in what we expect from a market perspective. And as you can see here, our prediction for 2025 is that the insect production globally will reach 2.8 million tons. And by 2030, this will go up to 10.6 million tons annually. Now, if you think this is very large numbers, let me explain this a little bit further. So we see the growth right now mainly driven by insect meal, lipids, and then the byproduct frass, which is just starting out to become a very, very successful product in the market. And these products are now being researched so we can get them at a really large scale and we can get the cost down. But really the point where the cost can drop to a lot lower and therefore the price is the point where we find additional products such as chitin, we derive chitosan, or melanin, because these are the products that are worth so much more that they will become the new main product, meaning that the insect meal and insect lipids that we care of today and that are here to grow the market until 2024 or 5, these will become the byproduct of the chitin or melanin production. And this is where we see there is a huge driver entering new industries from 2025 that even increases the rapid growth that we have today. In an age of artificial intelligence and sustainability, only low carbon footprint products will survive this decade. So to sum this up, why do we think that digitalization will make the insect industry win this decade? Well, traditional protein market has no digitalization so far, so there's a huge cost advantage. The other thing is that the cost curve of the insect production is declining constantly, and with the help of digitalization, this decline can go much lower and much further than it is in the traditional industry. And then no large-scale sales teams or sales structures are in this industry yet, which is great because now with digitalization, every single salesperson can do the job of 10 salespeople that they did before, because they don't have to travel anymore. They don't have to go everywhere and spend so much time with every customer. They can now completely expand the business network with a laptop, and they can completely handle the entire trade. So let me come to my final point, and it is the point I think that is really moving the entire industry. They say what we do has an impact on the next 7 generations. So let us make sure that we live in a world where we live together with a thriving nature, so the next generations can really live with the same amount of richness that we have today. And let's make sure that they can still enjoy the planet that we live on. And let's make use of digitalization and team up to make the next generation of ingredients win this decade. Thank you.
Thank you, Alexander. Sorry, thank you, Alexander. Okay. Could you Hear me? Perfect. Okay, great. Thank you for this inspirational speech and the presentation about your vision for the future. I would have a first question for you about, you mentioned about the price, the lack of transparency and the lack of information about especially the price. If you compare to Fishmin, it's true that Fishmin, you can know the price anytime just by connecting on internet. So if you have to build this kind of price indicator, how will you do? Do you have plan for doing so?
All right. As to your question, basically we're about to launch the information platform. It'll be at the end of the month, and then we'll soon add all the market information as well. So we talk to a lot of industry participants for now, but we will add a lot of real-time data to it. So as soon as the marketplace opens and grows, we'll obviously have actual numbers. So we will be able to have a price indicator based on expert network plus the actual data that is on the marketplace. And we see, especially in the next few years, that the data will just get more accurate over time. So we're very, very sure that it makes it a lot easier for everyone in the market to know where they have to go in terms of cost to be able to be competitive in the market. And also, of course, for the buyer to know that they're buying at a really good price.
Okay. So yeah, one question was about when it's going to open. So you say in next month?
Yes. So end of this month, we're going to launch the information platform, and then at the end of July, beginning of August, we'll launch the marketplace itself, where you can then trade on the marketplace.
Okay. Another question was about blockchain. You mentioned about blockchain protocols. How do you plan to use it? What specific blockchain is going to be used?
Yes, so it's quite a technical question, I guess. So one part will actually be the document management, which can be built on Hyperledger Fabric, which is an industry protocol that is created for the B2B market. And we will be using this to digitize all the document handling that has to do with international trade. We see that big companies are working on this. So we see sort of starting end of this year or next year, we will be able to do the document handling. And then when it comes to supply chain transparency, this will be a different point. We're working on this, but this is a longer term issue. But we want to be able to make the supply chain transparent, because we see a lot of companies that sell to the end consumer that need to prove how sustainable their products are. And if they have a blockchain where they can show exactly that every step was sustainable, it will be no problem for them to sell at a higher price to the end consumer.
Okay, good. I see more questions coming, but we'll keep this question for the next work session. You stay with us and these are the of today, and we'll find so yeah, thank you again for your presentation.
Thank you very much.
We'll see you again end of today.
Thank you.